Welcome to the Acquisition Collective podcast. I am your host, Charlie Tanner. Thank you for tuning in. This is the place where we discuss all things around the M&A landscape. So if that sounds like it's up your street, then stay tuned and let's dive into this week's guest. So on this week's episode of the Acquisition Collective podcast, we are joined by Des Vadgama, and he is going to be speaking with us on Power Dialogue, Dan Peña, Andrew Robinson, and what he's up to these days and how we can help many aspiring professionals in the space and all things sales as well, I believe. And yeah, which is good to go. So if you could share with the listeners and the little viewers that we do get, then yeah, tell us all about yourself and then we'll take it from there, bud.
Happy to. Good to meet you today.
Thank you.
Good to be here. Yeah, I really, and Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins.
Sorry, yeah. Close.
He's only a billionaire.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it really started for me way back in the 90s, which is promoting personal development, personal growth seminars with Tony Robbins. So we had like thousands of delegates coming through that. And I realized I could do two things, which is I could impact individuals and help them kind of go forward through personal development, personal growth, and also wealth development as well. Mm-hmm. And also I could get paid for it as well. So it was a good mix. Yeah, and then travel to events.
So was that US based?
That was based in London.
Oh, okay, so you done it this side of the pond from.
That's right, yeah. Nice. It was a small office in Kensington in London and really enjoyed it. Quite a small team. What it was really focused on is selling the seminar places for the events right across Europe.
So how was it? So how was sales different then to what it is now? What would you say the big difference is?
Okay. It was a lot simpler.
Yeah, I would imagine so,
yeah. Yeah. It's the instructions as my first day in the team, there's the phone. This was the training. There's the phone. There's a list of names to call.
Yep.
Now get on with it. And that was it.
Sounds like me and my sales guy within my business at the moment. I mean, I'm a very firm believer in phone conversations. Yeah. Even now, especially in my consultancy brokerage business, because I think email shots and LinkedIn and stuff like that is all well and good. Don't get me wrong. But I think the demographic of the average business seller from that business perspective is majority over 50, right?
Yes.
And they like phone calls, whereas they don't tend to be hiding on LinkedIn. They tend to just be in their office or on the phone. But I think it's a very, if you can't get to people in person, I think telephone's the next best thing.
Exactly. It still works.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I think, especially with smartphones and texting and so on, I think they get too caught up in all these other methods. So by all means, do that.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It still comes down to using the phone and that communication.
Yeah. Also, in other businesses that I have as well, for example, I still won't convert to an AI receptionist or booking, or you phone up the office and AI answer it. I still employ ladies or ladies. Fortunately, I haven't employed any men to do this position. Not to say that they can't, but I'll see someone to answer the phone with a nice manner and to take calls and to forward them on to other departments.
Yeah.
I still find that a good old-fashioned business. I'd much rather pay someone to do that than I would to convert to an AI bot to take inquiries.
I would agree.
But that's just my personal approach to business.
Yes. Yeah. And I've heard a few conversations via AI.
I'm still not. It still frustrates me. I know, I can tell straight away when I'm talking to an AI bot.
Yes.
And I see it as lazy, as cost efficient as it is. I know it's very cost efficient and it's very techy and it's very cool, but there's no there's no real care, love and care put into it, I believe.
So the phone isn't going anywhere. You're going to be using
always
many years.
All my businesses it's used in. So yeah.
And more so, I'm guessing, even more so than video calls.
Yeah. I do. Don't get me wrong. I do. No, my voice notes are for I do on LinkedIn and things like that. because again, rather than just a simple message that anyone can just ignore, it's just a nicer personal touch to show that you've taken time to look into someone's background properly and you understand them and you put them a personal message in, rather than a copy and paste jobby. That's automated,
It's the essence of a good conversation, a good dialogue.
Yeah, that's it. So something you're very good at from experience.
So it's been through, I would say, through practice.
Yeah.
And just hundreds of calls.
Yeah.
I didn't wake up with it one day.
No. I know it's definitely an art form in itself. I can do it, but I can't do it very efficiently where I make a lot of headroom very fast. Yeah. Whereas a salesperson, I think, like a telesales person or someone who's good on sales on the phone, I think they've either got it or they haven't really. I think that you can train someone to it, but it's the efficiency alongside it. Like it's the reporting of it. It's like the keeping up the CRM to suit, so you're not just bombarded with data entry catch up after.
Yes,
it's definitely a skill set, and people don't realise it. People think it's just picking up the phone and ringing people. There's an art form to it. Yeah, and there's the right way to do it as well.
Yeah, and and all the other aspects of building rapport, relationship, and those aspects are more important. Whereas what I find with a lot of salespeople, they're just going through a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So it's they could almost be in what I call broadcast mode rather than having a
that's right,
two-way conversation.
Yeah, and I think like you say, once they get into that, because they do it in like blocks, don't they? They tend to do it in heavy blocks. So they could get like half an hour in, get in the groove, and then by like the 60-minute mark, if they're doing like a 2-hour block, you might only get a good 30 minutes from like 30 to 60, and then 60 to 120 is a bit, it's a bit poor. Yeah. But I'm no expert. I can just give you my opinion on that.
Well, ultimately, it's whatever works. My experience with older business owners and so on, they appreciate the extra time taken in the conversations to build that understanding.
Yeah, I think the older, like you said, the older business owner, they like real touch points. Yeah, like the real drop them a line, touch back, swing back round with 30 days, and just keep swinging back. It takes me back to like my first business when I had a main contractor.
Yeah.
And my gatekeeper of that business was architects.
Yeah.
So I would say I would schedule 3 days a month, like back last week of every month, 3 days, go around with cakes and treats and around different offices that I was trying to get in with and trying to build rapport with over time, and just to say, hi, I'm Charlie, I own XYZ Construction. Can you got any new tenders coming out, any new inquiries? Don't forget about me. Obviously not so much like that, and then you just build rapport, you get to know them, get to see how they are, and then good old fashioned rapport building, I call it. And that's what people don't really do. They think, I'm going to get a lead list of 3,000 and then that's going to guarantee me 10% conversion rate. And it's like, you could get more if you're specific with it. And that's why it's going back to when we talk about your dialogue approach, when we dive into that, you'll probably expose why it's better to have quality over quantity. Because there's something you say where it's like you'd much rather have 50 good leads than, I think, 5,000. Did you compare it or see something like that?
Yeah.
And I agree with that as well.
Quality,
quality over quantity.
The example you just mentioned, I just thought of it as you use donuts into dialogue, you see.
Yeah.
That was the to continue the dialogue.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just a good icebreaker as well. Everyone loves a sugary treat.
Very much. Yeah.
If not, then find out what they like and you bring that next time.
Exactly. Yeah. But the whole point is, as you know, is to keep that rapport relationship and that connection.
Yeah, and you have to remember it's not instant. It takes time. And that's the same with like networking communities or other communities or even relationship building in any business industry. Like people think I'm going to implement the sales team and I need results within the first quarter, but they might not perform in the first quarter. They might be finding their feet still, and it might not be till Q3, 4 they really start to pick up and turn out the results that you want, because it takes time. So
Very much. Yeah.
Joys of sales.
Yeah.
It's not instant. So a lot of it is, well, mate, a lot of it is luck. But if you don't just want to do the spray and pray, you have to be, very dialed in.
But on top of that, so you mentioned LinkedIn earlier as well, and obviously there's a few different approaches, but I find as you get older and with bigger deals, targeting and specific targeting becomes more valuable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Rather than just, going through lots of numbers.
Yeah, for example, like my brokerage that I run, obviously I come from a construction background. Me personally, obviously acquired and exited. Then I went consulting, evolved into brokering. So I say to people, I help 4 industries in that brokerage: construction, manufacturing, engineering, and B2B service-based businesses.
Yeah.
Mainly construction and industrial, because that's my background. So the team that I've built around me, we all specialize in that, and I will always specialize in that because that's where we come from. There's no point saying, we do everything and anything, because the minute you do everything is the minute you do nothing. You're not good in that sector. So
better to specialize in a niche.
Yeah, that's right. That's like when I buy construction businesses now or in the future when I'm allowed to. So I will only buy subcontracting businesses within construction. I won't buy like a maintenance contractor that does everything, because you're not good at everything. Like you're only going to be good at one thing. And I'm a heavy believer in simple and sexy business now, moving forward for my future portfolio. So that's why if I stay in construction acquisition, I will go the subcontracting businesses and just grow groups of them.
Good. What kind of time range for you to be allowed?
I've said a 5-year gap from this year. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm on a timeout because I got a young family, 3 kids, all under 7. So I'm focusing on them for the next 5 years or so. And I'm doing my brokerage and acquisition collective in the meantime.
Lovely.
But after that, I will then go buy and building for my long-term holdco. It does exist today and it is ready to go if I get the right opportunity. But if that right opportunity comes, I have to do a lot of begging to the wife to say, please, can I do it? Or it has to be a substantial size that I'm not day-to-day in it, which doesn't really ever work anyway. That's just a hearsay. Whoever wants to buy a business and say, I'm not going to be day-to-day in it is, you're chasing a pipe dream there.
So that's you got to clear it with the board first.
Oh, yeah, always. Yeah, always. I have no problem. I have no problem in admitting that. So, we agreed something. I've got to stick to it.
Good.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. Right. That leads me on. Obviously, you started with Tony Robbins. So how did... I know where you went after that. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you just want to touch on that, and then I want to compare the two.
Sure.
Which would be great.
That's so in terms of timeline, in the mid-90s, I then made a move to promoting my own events with a guy called Dan Peña, who's very well known now with millions of viewers and thousands of videos on YouTube.
Yes,
when I connected with Dan, it was his early days. He was already at Guthrie Castle, and his events back then, the Guthrie Castle event, which is the week-long seminar, was £10,000, which is the first event I went into. I heard about it, short notice, through the Rob Report, a US magazine, called up Guthrie Castle, and then went straight into the event.
Did you sit it yourself first?
So attending the event? Yes. Nice. Because I was used to the high-end events with Tony Robbins. Backtracking a little bit, Tony Robbins has what's called Mastery University, Life Mastery and Wealth Mastery, and these programs. They're kind of similar. Price band. Back then they were £10,000. I was comfortable with those kind of figures.
Yeah.
So I attended Dan's event at short notice, and it was only a small group. There was maybe half a dozen of us.
Right, yeah.
Dan was, he had just turned 50, just to give you an idea. And so he was like full blast.
I was going to say he's been full blast for the last 10 years, let alone 20 years before that.
Exactly. Well, it was younger and sharper. So the point was, I got to know him in a small group setting over a week. And I realized that he's got a very strong message with a very strong background, track record,
Most
results, having built a $400 million business in the 80s, which is all documented.
Yeah.
Taken public, his business taken public on on the London Stock Exchange.
Yep, that's
under
right.
The Great Western vehicle, I call it vehicle business. And the point is, Charlie, I got to know him really well. And then to answer your point, I then moved into promoting his seminars in the UK, which he initially dismissed. He said, Des, that's not going to work. Just forget about it. Because he'd had Americans flying over to Guthrie Castle to attend that event.
Yeah.
To attend the 1 week event. And I said, let's just do a test.
Yeah, why not?
And, he didn't say why not. He said, you'll probably fail. That was later.
Yeah.
So you don't go to Dan for motivational support.
No, I can't see that in the slightest. Yeah.
So it was that kind of challenge, effectively.
Yeah.
And so over the next couple of months, roughly since after leaving the castle, I just got on with the same thing, which is sending out details by post back there, because it was pre-internet.
Yep.
And then got on the phone to follow up. And the result of that was 30 sales at a couple of grand for an event in London.
Nice.
So 60 grand in revenues. Back then it was worth a few quid.
Yeah.
And the main point is it showed proof of concept in the UK.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I bet he liked you then, didn't he?
Not so much liked.
No.
He's not much for compliments or whatever. So he just said, okay, well, let's do a few more, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was, because it was pre-internet, there were no videos and no exposure of Dan.
No.
Back in the mid 95, 96, to give you an idea.
Yep.
And no emails, hardly anything online. What was the interesting thing was the first exposure anyone had, the paid delegates had, they paid money, and the first exposure was at the live seminar. So,
Yeah.
So I was like right in the back of the room thinking, what is going to happen here?
You better have sold it, right? Yeah.
Hey?
You better have sold it, right?
Expectations. Yeah. Obviously, they had their expectations. I kind of sold it based on the sales copy and the report I'd sent out. But I didn't quite know what to expect, i.e. the reception between the two. Dan is brilliant at doing his bit, which is the talk. That was a 3-day event, so he got on with that event. What I wasn't sure of was the reaction or reception by the attendees, and but they gradually took to him, and the language, the directness, and
has he always been like that? Literally?
Yes, just stronger, more dominant in his 50s. He's kind of mellowed a bit in his 70s, 80s.
I find it sometimes I find it really funny and great, and it's really like it can egg you on. But for the weak-hearted individual who's not really cut out for it, who wants to do it but has not got the grit in them, I reckon they can take that the wrong way, that course. Or Dan, sorry.
Correct. Yeah.
They it's not Marmite. You either accept him for what he is, or you just don't like him.
Yes. Yeah, and he makes it very clear that this is for the top 1% or less.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, and he doesn't give a shit, and like you said, he doesn't hold back. So,
correct. Yeah. The advantage now is because there's thousands of videos and hundreds of video podcasts with Dan. Anyone going to the castle and
knows what to expect.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're getting.
Yeah.
Whereas I wasn't prepared for any of that. I was dealing mostly with Brits and with 2-3 European countries on the phone.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of an interesting situation to have that first exposure.
Yeah.
But I mean, without a doubt, they all enjoyed it or got comfortable with it.
So with Dan's group, obviously I know he does the events and whatnot. Does he have like a community behind it as well, or not?
Not that I know of.
No, so he just does the events and that's it.
Yeah, you do the event and then you're out.
Yeah, that's it, in and out job.
Yeah, because just on a related point, part of the QLA message, the Quantum Leap Advantage message for the top 1% of entrepreneurs, is that it is about being uncomfortable and staying out of your comfort zone, whereas communities and groups, including mastermind groups, can often lead to more of a comfort zone.
Yeah, I can agree with part of that, not all of it. like we were speaking off camera.
Yes.
I can't agree with the being inside a community part because I've never been part of a community to experience that. So I don't know. But I can definitely say that, yes, talking to people who are part of other communities are, you get a lot of them that either go from community to community who just love the education side of it and love to feel like a community but never do anything, right?
Yes.
You get the other people who you've obviously seen as well come to the courses and then fizzle back into their day-to-day and never do anything with it. It's probably 10, 20% who actually take on the information given and go and act upon it.
10% if you're lucky.
Yeah, it might even be less.
Or 5 or less.
Yeah, which is... Yeah, and that's why I think some of these, well, they call them gurus, don't they? But people have hosting these seminars and they say, yeah, you get all these people keep coming through because you're just extorting them. Well, you're not. There's an appetite for the knowledge to be shared. It's not their fault that 90% of the people don't put it into action.
Yes.
You know, and I understand that now, you know, like whereas 5-6 years ago, I would have been talking about gurus saying, yeah, they're a waste of money, they're a waste of time. It's like, well, no, what information they can provide you can be correct. It's whether you, the person, want to implement it.
Exactly.
That's it, you know, and that's the same with anything. The knowledge, the information's out there. It's just whether you as a person want to take the steps and apply it. Whether you do it, whether you learn the perfect way and you apply the perfect way, or whether you just get up and go and do it and muddle your way through it till you get there.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But what was the main difference between the two? Because they are completely different characters, but they have brilliant outcomes, both in their personal business and what some of their proteges or people in their communities or people who come through their doors do, you know?
That's the key difference is Tony Robbins, obviously the core message is personal growth, personal development in a more what I call rounded, holistic way.
Yeah.
Including relationships, health, well-being, the spiritual side, and what I call a wider, like multi-dimensional aspect of the individual.
Yeah.
Whereas Dan's message is clearly focused on wealth development.
Just wealth and business sort of thing.
Correct. Yeah. All the other stuff is either quite a few times it's sacrificed or lower priority.
Yeah, I get that. He's just straight to business, whereas
correct.
Tony's about the whole. He's about the whole temple, whereas Dan's about the actual just the money part of the temple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And Dan makes no secret that there's been all sorts of situations where through business success and so on, or the stresses of big business success into millions or tens of millions and above, it's led to splits, divorces, breakdowns, and all kinds of situations. It doesn't hide any of that.
No, and I think people who want to get into that top 1%, right, for you to take a business, I don't know, even to break the £10 million mark, and a lot of, right, so two things, but a lot of people online nowadays are going on about, you don't want to buy yourself a job. If you just leverage everyone to do this for you, you can have a lovely life and a brilliant company turn over tens of millions. No, I don't think that's true. I think to break just the £10 million barrier alone in turnover is a big figure. One in the UK for a start. People don't realise just to break that figure is a big figure, and it takes a lot to get there, and a lot of dedication, a lot of hours, and a lot of neglect towards a family, right?
Yes.
And the more businesses you can get all the more staff members, the more middle management, you can get profit shares of people operating them businesses all you want. Your mind never stops and you still tick over. And you neglect family members, whether you like to admit it or not.
Yes.
You know, and I know this firsthand because I done it, right?
Yes.
I literally done that for the first 3 years of my kids' lives. And I had plenty of money to stop and not do anything. But I was still aggressively just tunnel vision. I wanted more. And I was just missing things. And if it wasn't for my wife saying, you need to stop or it's going to be different, then you need to calm down. Because At one point, I had like 4 businesses. I had many property developments. I had a young family. I literally did a post about this the other day. I was looking back through my phone. There's a picture of me like 6 years ago. I was holding both my kids on the phone,
Yeah.
and that summed up the first 2-3 years of their lives.
What was that in your boxer shorts?
Yeah, literally, or shorts, but yeah. And I was literally, and I just remember it. I was thinking, yeah, that was like the bad days for them, where like the lights are on, but no one's at home. You know, when you're just there in soul, if you're even there. You know, and it's a bit like, well, you need to stop pushing all the time. But that's just my personal approach. But if you want to burst through them barriers and get the tens of millions, it does come with sacrifice. So if you've got a wife and kids, they need to be made aware like it's going to come at a cost.
Yes.
Because many people that I speak to that want to exit a business, like some of the older chaps who are very like rigid and raw, and they're very private and just non-trustworthy. It's because they've done like 30 years worth of business. They've neglected their families. They've left them, and they've just left with this business.
Yeah.
And then they just want to exit it, and then they don't know what to do. But that's what it can evolve into if you're not careful as well.
I've seen that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can end up a little bit lost post-exit.
Always.
Yeah.
That's why I always like to check in with my guys and girls who have exited, especially the ones who are going into retirement, because after they've done the actual handover process, which can take anywhere from 3 months to a year, or if they're on an earn-out, it's slightly different. But then just keep tabs of them. That's what I do. Just see how they're doing, see how they're getting on, make sure that they've got some new hobbies and they're not just like lurking around the house doing nothing, because I know a lot of people have been active for many decades who the minute they stop, they just crumble, or they change a lot, or they get sick and things like that. And that's one thing that I do when talking to people initially about looking to exit is, I know they shouldn't really take advice from like a mid-30s guy, but it's like when you're looking to change and step off, it's like a whole transition, like mindset shift.
Yeah.
And people compare it to like grief and things like that, because it's just a change out the norm for them. And not a lot of people can take it, you know, like imagine running a business for like 30, 40 years of your life, right? Making the decisions, taking all the shots, you know, owning all the money. And then all of a sudden, like completion day comes, right? Which is always anticlimactical for anyone looking to exit. It's really boring for a start.
It's not a big deal.
No, it's good to see the figures in the bank, don't get me wrong, but then the tax man ruins it a bit. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, what have you got? I mean, when I had my first exit, I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I had insomnia probably for about 2 months, I would say. And that's just from not being able to check anything to make sure it's working.
Yeah.
Like, and that was just from like a residential main contractor, which really can operate without you anyway on paper. But because your head's always ticking about it, you're always thinking, how can I evolve it? Who can I talk to? How can I get more tenders? How can I perfect this build team? What am I going to do next in the next Q3, 4, 5? And whatnot.
You're still thinking operations.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it's whipped from underneath you. So that transition is difficult in itself. And that's what, like I touched on, that's why I always keep touching back with the people I've helped exit. It's because it can be daunting. So, especially for that older chap as well, who they don't talk about feelings. They don't do anything of that nature, you know. Like, even if you just, like what I do sometimes, just ring them up, take them out for lunch, you know what I mean? Just things like that. So, like every couple of months.
It sounds like part of your civic duty.
Well, yeah, I think so. It's just been a nice human being, I like to think of, you know, just because although you've gone on that journey of helping someone exit, it's still like post-completion, one, for the acquirer, it's always the most difficult. And for the seller, it's always the hardest transition, because they might have neglected their wife for 30 years. All of a sudden, they're with him daily.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're annoying each other. And it's things like that. Yeah. So question for you is, what do you think separates, I call it the talkers from the walkers in the deal-making industry at the moment?
I think there's a few things. The obvious one for me is actually seeing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, daily, weekly, or whatever, what actions they're taking, or if some of them engage with me, like for example, this year I've had just through LinkedIn, I've had just over 900 responses and leads coming in.
Good.
I've been surprised at that because I was inactive of
Yeah.
LinkedIn like months.
LinkedIn
before.
is very good.
Yes,
It's very good.
In answer to your question, though, a high percentage of them are more the talkers.
Yes, always. Yeah. Again, I reckon that 90% figure can come out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So so they respond, and they often like respond to a lead magnet or a question or a request for something, freebie usually.
Yep.
In answer to your point, so what I tend to do is ask them to do one thing, like even answering like 2-3 questions if I send out some details, then I just watch for a response.
Yeah.
And a high percentage of the time, I don't get any response. So that's one way I can normally differentiate between the talkers and the walkers,
most definitely.
the doers, and as I call it, the people who are going to actually do something.
Correct, yeah. Because like you said, a lot of people propel themselves as doing something or want to aspire to do it, but it's very difficult, especially... So I say this all the time, like anyone looking to do their first acquisition, especially when they come from, say, like an employee, right? And they're learning as they go and they're trying to make their first acquisition. It's so difficult to get your first acquisition. It takes a long time. It takes grit. It takes guts to do it. And you might want to do it, but obviously you're still running in the dark to a certain degree. You've just got to figure out how to turn that light on. And then somehow a bit of luck will help the right person, I think. But I have a couple mentees around me who are doing good jobs, but some of them don't. I had a mentee who just went AWOL on me. He was actually he turned into an intern. He went AWOL, which was strange. But then a few others around me now who I help, they're doing good things.
Yeah,
and they're maximising. Because I always say to mentees, what you want to try first is you need to learn and go through the hassle of on-market brokers. And I will say that to the majority of them. You need to go and get your head done in. If you can master on-market brokers, I commend you. But you need to try and figure out...
part of the learning curve.
Yeah, why they're shit, right? And why they are difficult to work with. And just so you know, one you talk with today, in 6 months' time, they probably won't be there because they churn through them like butter. But that's for you to figure out.
Yeah.
Because they go, right, what should I do? On-market, off-market letters? And it's like, whoa. There's a process to this. Like you either put all your eggs in one basket for searching.
Yeah.
Because I always say it's quality over quantity. You can't do all three because the more you do, the more money you need to spend. And the majority of them don't really have money at an instance. It's obviously rare that a new person looking to acquire comes with money to really invest in searching for themselves.
Good point. So it's these £1 Charlies that...
Yeah, fucking one. But that's why it frustrates me. Like, there's some people online who teach this stuff like, you can buy a business for £1. It's like, you can buy an insolvent business for £1, which will give you headache. You can't buy you can't buy a good business for £1.
So
unless you're getting it given to you by a family member.
So you could like pay £1 and then get a minus 1 million liability.
Literally, yeah. Everyone I've spoken to who has tried buying a business for £1, right, on a turnaround project, has ended up selling it back to the owner for £1, has sold it to someone else for £1, liquidated it, or they've got very ill trying to do it and then had to liquidate. Obviously, insolvency practitioners who do that business model, that's a whole different art form in itself. And I got asked this by one of my mentees last week. He goes, I'm reading this book on turnarounds. He goes, good business model. What do you think? I went, no. I went, stop what I know what you're going to ask me now. Just be patient and go through your search process. Don't try turnaround for your first business. Like, you'd never step foot in the business door. Like, I know you mean well, and the book makes it sound really easy, but you can't do a turnaround. I said to him, I wouldn't attempt a turnaround, and I've had 6 businesses.
Yes.
Because I'm not comfortable in turning the business around that aggressively, that quickly, because you need to be on it. You need to be dedicated and in there for like full time, basically. I said, as much as you think you could do it and talk to ChatGPT on assisting you, it's not as easy as it sounds.
So they better turn around and go a different way.
Yeah. Literally, I said, go and find an equity partner and buy a real business. Don't do a turnaround.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, touching back on, so let's carry on with the 90s. Obviously, so it was Tony Robbins, then it was on to Dan Peña. I was born in the 90s, So, obviously that must have been a good time off. How long did Dan take you? Did he take you to the millennial, or did he?
I didn't last that long. I managed a couple of years. Working with Dan, and then I really wanted a bit of a change of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So went traveling, and like I ticked off maybe 30, 40 things on my bucket list.
Cool. Yeah. Nice.
The traveling, the fancy hotels, the restaurants, and maybe a dozen plus.
Living La Vida Loca, yeah.
All that stuff, yeah. Some of it was a bit mad, yeah.
Why not? Yeah. That's what life's for.
Still kept my hair.
Yeah. I haven't done that yet.
And along the journey, actually, so that was kind of getting into 98, 99. I was in Warsaw and met my future wife, Helena. And so that kind of changed trajectory quite a bit.
Pivot time.
Yes, yeah. So it was kind of, which way do I go, really? And it was kind of as the internet was developing as well. And I couldn't resist it, but to kind of go down that rabbit hole, get to know internet marketing and doing stuff online. And through a bit like trial and error, started making things work, making money off, getting traffic, making money off it. And that was very, it's very addictive, I call it, because you kind of get into a comfort zone of a good income, especially the early days of the internet, late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very enjoyable. And then I just developed that, which is marketing on the internet, getting leads, and then also still using the phone, because my mechanism or process was traffic to a website and then incoming phone call to me.
Yeah.
So that was inbound calls.
So you've always done sales then, which is good.
Correct. Yeah.
Which brings us on to the next section. But
yeah. Although I don't consider myself a great sales guy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's I just enjoy more of the conversations, the dialogues.
Yeah.
Which then lead to bigger sales. So if I had to do 100 calls a day, I wouldn't do it. It's not that kind of thing. I'd much rather do like 2, 3, 5 calls a day.
Yeah, and real quality.
Yeah,
to get to it again.
Yeah.
I think when you're in that realm of sales, so to speak, it's more like you said, you're not selling, you're just talking about a service, really.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're not doing this whole sleazy sales pitch and things like that. You're literally just saying, you're just having a genuine chat with someone about.
Yeah, like we're doing.
Yeah.
You kind of check for things like, we mentioned it earlier, rapport, relationship, trust, credibility, and more importantly, I call it alignment.
Always, yeah.
Do you and I align on, whatever either the product or service is? If there's not going to be an alignment, it's not a big deal.
That's right, yeah.
Next.
Just not the right fit. Saying that, I had a call with a lovely lady yesterday on Zoom. I won't mention her name. I think we just connected on LinkedIn, chatted, the generic sort of thing. This is summary what I do. Let's hop on a call. Yeah. Okay, fine, brilliant. Hopped on a call. She hosts like a really successful CEO in a circle meetup. I think has done for like 15 years. Really successful, really like top 1% she's been around with this partner, with this ex-chap. And by the end of the call, we got a feel for one another, but we're on different levels of the playing field.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I'm lower, she's higher. She's in more corporate lending. She specialises in that. And it's like, that's fine. That's fine. But you get to the point where you need to know whether you're aligned to take the conversation further. And it's like, no, we're off. It's like she got near the end of it. She goes, to be honest, I went, I know it's fine. It's like we're not on the same tier. We're not aligned. So obviously, I know what you can offer. If I have any inquiries, I can send you away. I'll do that, and same for you, whatnot. So it's just about knowing. It's just about being transparent. I always revert back to that with talking to customers. As long as you're clear and transparent on the service or product you provide,
Yes.
And I think that's just good business in itself as well.
That's right. And
Yeah.
also on a related point, it's get an understanding of the other individual. Part of what I do is I always ask about their current priorities.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to me for many of these hundreds of inquiries have been recently to me have been acquisition entrepreneurs. So individuals that want to buy businesses.
Yeah.
Most of them are doing their first deal, or yet to do their first deal. A few dozen have done 2, 3, 5, up to maybe 30 deals.
Okay. Yeah. Good mix.
People like Lee Smith and James Lamb and these guys,
Yeah.
they've done multiple deals. So the point is, it's been quite a mixed bag. But one of the key questions I ask right at the beginning is, what's your current priorities over the next kind of 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah.
What is it you're actually
doing?
Top priority, top focus.
Yeah.
And if they're talking to me about, they're either watching videos or learning about the process or going to different meetings or whatever, then what I call half disengage from my side. It just saves a lot of time. So
yeah, because that they're just there to consume, because you get a lot of people who want to do it, but they just want to consume everything first, learn on their own terms, and then think once their brain's filled up with all this information, then go. And it's like, just consume a bit and then go, because just go and do it. It's like anyone who says to me, what community do you recommend me to join? I say, go. I said,
the Samaritan.
Understand the roadmap of a transaction, right? And what professionals work in that timeline.
Yeah.
Go and speak to 3 different ones and ask them their opinion of it. Do that first. Go and speak to 15 professionals, obviously 3 of each, for example. Like 3 lawyers, 3 lenders, 3 accountants, 3 tax guys.
That sounds like work, Charlie.
3 brokers, that's 15, yeah?
Go and speak what's going to happen. I know what's going to go on.
Go and speak to 15 professionals in the space first before go and join a community. Not to say that communities aren't needed. But get real life opinions and industry facts first before just going to drop 10 grand on a community for a year and just getting a load of PDFs that you're never going to implement because you're too scared to do it.
Yes. And access to 100 hours worth of videos in some cases.
Yeah. Not saying that they're not good. I'm not saying that. But real life experience and talking to real people will always be more beneficial than looking at a lovely video from someone.
So I'm going to ask you, what percentage actually do that? Talk to professionals?
10%. It's not that 90% figure we keep talking about, is it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's like anyone who comes to me. Like, I had a chat a few months back with this guy. I think he come through one of my events. Nice guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been a part of one community, and then he went on to another community, and now he's on his 3rd community. Yeah, I'm still trying to make my first deal though." I was like, "Why?" "Oh, he's got his own business anyway." He goes, "Oh, I'm just too busy in my current business." I said, "You're going to add to your business?" "No, I want to buy a completely different business." I said, "Just sell your business then. If you can't manage your business and buy another business, just either spend your money on getting someone to help you manage your business.
Yeah.
And then once that's manageable and you're not in it day to day or whatever that may be for you, then go look for a business." But it's all about priorities. He just wants to be, again, he's a major consumer.
Yes.
And major talker. Like, he doesn't put anything into action. And that's a good thing. But like, I can't say anything. Like, I used to be very much like that when I first met my wife. And she's actually showed me, she's like, just get up and do it. Just do it. Like, don't, she goes, stop just searching stuff and then doing it. She goes, just go and do it. And she pushed me on to do that. And that's the good thing about Sophia. She just does stuff. She gets something in her head. Within 48 hours, she's going to do it. She goes, if I'm winging a bit at first, that's fine. I'll get through it. And that's what I took on from her, really. And that's what propelled me on to do so much. And I say that, unfortunately, I did neglect them for a few years, but I still had her in the corner pushing me on.
Good.
So, yeah, it's like a double-edged sword, really.
Yeah, it's anyone who's in doing mode is much more, I think, interesting, valuable, useful and so on. So this is where LinkedIn is quite handy as well. You kind of get a sense of what someone's actually doing. You can even now have like AI prompts you can just put in the URL of the profile, and it quickly tells you what that either that person's a doer or a talker or
Oh, really?
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, just different prompts, and it gives a bit. Obviously, it's not 100%, but it gives a bit of
An idea. Yeah, it gives you a starting point.
Yeah, exactly, and also some clues as to based if they're doing a little bit of content or posting,
Yeah.
what their likely priorities are, what they're kind of focused on, and so on. And it kind of saves a bit of time when having a conversation or sending them a DM or whatever.
Yeah, look, it gives you more. It helps you summarize, and deep dive into them
Yes.
before opening a dialogue.
Yes.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, because you either do it the manual way where you sift through their posts or get to know them, get to see the pattern of it, or you get to leverage a bit of AI to help you do that as well.
Yeah, I find it tricky to sift through a lot of posts, especially when they're like selfies and dog images and
Yeah, especially when they're like you said,
or like shorts and things.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah. So we are going to go on to deal flow now. So obviously you specialize in dialogue, helping people with their dialogue and their deal flow. That's
Yes.
right. Yeah. So let's dive into what your opinion and approach on dialogue and deal flow is, and then I'll have some questions for you on deal flow.
For on a strategic level, on a bigger business level, other than those two things, deal flow and dialogues,
Yeah.
that's the essence, as I see it, of all business and commerce. If you're missing one or the other or both, like some of these guys are doing, if you're missing deal flow and or dialogues, there is no business.
Are you talking about searching for a business now, or just
any aspect of business?
Yeah.
Like you talked about tenders and contracts and
that's true.
bigger deals. You still need to be engaged and have a number of those, for example, active tenders, bids, and so on, to get winning bids, for example.
Yeah.
So
right.
I still call it deal flow.
Yeah.
And so in answer to your question, as long as an individual has deal flow and dialogues, they can achieve 6 or 7 figures.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I think going back to what we touched on earlier, it stems back to just real honest conversations and rapport building.
Yes.
But it's doing it the right way with the right. And everyone keeps going on about, what script do you have? What templates do you have? And it's a bit like, use it as a guideline. Don't just like word for word it, I believe, which is what you can tell. I can tell a salesman who's reading off a script.
Yes.
Really. Whereas salesman who can take that script and turn it into how they would word it them personally is a good salesman, because they're them true sales. They're coming across authentic, but they're still letting the person know the key points of what the script and the business is trying to get across to them.
Yes. Yeah, I still enjoyed these kind of conversations, which I kind of like a variation of two blokes down the pub.
Yeah.
Kind of conversation. I know it's not a pub, but it's it's
I wish, but that's why I started this podcast, because it's just an extension of the networking events that we do. Again, that was another thing, whereas I was moaning at the wife and she goes, well, why did you start it then, Charlie? Why didn't you start it?
Get on with it.
A week went by and she goes, how are you getting on with the prep for that networking event then, babe? I was like, yes, all right. She goes, you haven't done it yet, have you, you lazy git? And I was like, I'm getting there. She goes, yeah, I knew you wouldn't do that. And then within 2 days, I had it all booked and planned and ready to go.
Love it.
Yeah. And it was a shit show because the woman who comes from an events background, she didn't help me with it. So it was too many. I had like too many for my launch event. I had too many keynote speakers. I was a bit scared to take the mic and talk to people at the time. I didn't keep people on time, so it overran and things like that. So yeah, it's just a bit but the feedback I got was still all right, really. Yeah, I think they saw the humorous side to it, but the first 3 were complete shit shows, really. But it started to get better after that. So I think our latest one, which we're in April now, is the 7th one.
Good.
Yeah.
And I look forward to attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the 30th.
That's
right?
it, yeah.
Yeah.
So this will come out after that, I think.
All right.
Because at the time we're recording this, I think this is due to come out in May.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got 4 before you, because they're scheduled weekly now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
End of May.
Good.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, which would be good. But going back to deal flow, so how would you advise an aspiring person where to start with dialogue and deal flow? The easy, free sort of entryway to get the real bang for their buck.
All right. Like without a script.
Without a script, well, something that they can create. But yeah.
Yeah. The short answer is just get into different types of dialogues.
Yeah.
That's like the easy step one, because most people these days, especially with smartphones and texting and so on, WhatsApp and DMs and everything else, are too much into that.
Yeah.
Like my son is 20 this year, and they're messaging each other on the PC plus the phone.
Yeah.
Rarely does any conversations on the phone. So I get it. It's kind of part of what's available. But the whole point is somehow still get into chats, conversations, especially a little bit longer, to get more comfortable with those, because that's the essence, especially if you're going to go down the acquisition track.
Yeah. One thing I say to people looking to start is, say you want to. Do you get that?
No, just it should have been on silent.
That's right. So one thing I do say to people is, if you want to buy in the construction industry, for example, and you want to start opening up dialogues and practicing, don't practice in the construction industry people you want to talk to. Just pick a different industry that you don't care about, where you can make a fool of yourself, practice, make your mistakes, and do that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because it's better to make mistakes with people you're never going to look to acquire.
Yes, that's a good approach.
Yeah, just practice somewhere else, because it takes time. It takes probably to be comfortable with it. Well, probably 50 times.
Correct. Yeah. On a related point, that's why some of these individuals who, for example, that have approached me, their main channel they're using is business brokers to get IMs and details about businesses.
Yeah.
All this sort of. The challenge is that often many of them still haven't spoken with the business owner. They've been in contact either via the broker or by email to owner, but not actually having a conversation or
and that's where a lot of I can go into a lot of opinions about the brokering industry because I'm in it, right? So, but I have got a section on brokers in a little while, so we'll swing back to that. Yeah, it'll just be 5 minutes of me slagging them off probably, but people might learn something.
I'll join you.
Yeah. So starting off with dialogue. I say just practice, because if you're new to it, then you just need to get comfortable with it. And a good one that I didn't know for a couple years, or I was a bit scared to do, obviously, direct to business owners is good. Business owners themselves are very busy people, and they tend to be only available on the phone first thing within certain industries or post 4 o'clock. So don't be thinking you can make calls from 9 till 1 o'clock and think you'll get a good response, because you probably won't, or you might just be put towards a lot of PAs, secretaries, gatekeepers, and never get a call returned. That's a little hidden gem. And what I also like to do is, the gatekeepers in our industry is accountants. And they also say wealth managers and lawyers as well, but I believe it's accountants, because obviously they control the business owner's books. So build rapport with as many accountants as you
can. Be challenging, but
it is challenging because So the problem with building rapport with accountants is they think you're going to take their client away from them. So they don't want that to happen.
Fear of loss.
Yeah. So you have to, and if you go to an accountant and say, I've never bought a business before, run one, they won't ever recommend you. So there's that caveat as well. So you have to incentivize them somewhere or another. or whether you say to the ones, I'm looking to buy a business, but if you introduce me and I acquire that business, I will keep your practice on for the
3
next
weeks.
Yeah. You can say whatever term you want to them, but that's the only enticement you can really say, and on
Yes.
better terms potentially. And hopefully they're a good accountant. Who knows?
I started my my first working experience as an accountant.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
I'd never qualified. I part qualified.
Yeah.
And I managed to, what I call, escape out of the
Out of the boredom. Yeah.
out of the profession in my early 20s. So age 21, 22, I came out.
That's good.
And then went into entrepreneur and consulting and so on, with its different up trials and error and so on.
Oh, good. Yeah. Totally different game.
But the point is, I understand where they're coming from. So when I'm talking with accountants, I can go into their language a bit.
Yeah.
So I can get rapport with them quite quickly.
Yeah, because accountants remind me of architects from my first business venture, because they can be very odd people.
Yeah.
So they need a slightly different approach, and they take a while to warm up. You can't make one phone call and become best friends, put it that way.
Makes sense.
And it's quite difficult, because where you want to build rapport as well, and you phone a few times and you're not asking them for any of their services, they do start to quickly ignore your phone calls.
Yeah.
So you just got, but it's like anything. You got to keep going. You got to keep trucking. Got to keep being persistent, and you'll hopefully get there.
The key point is, in regards to acquisition entrepreneurs, is my pointer is always stay in as many dialogues with business owners, which are the main decision makers, really. And also, if you don't want to pester them or whatever, I know it sounds obvious, but the secondary channel I use is WhatsApp to keep that dialogue ongoing.
Okay, yeah.
So a few texts now and again and so on, just to keep that connection going.
Just literally going, hiya, how you doing? I'm still here. And
a bit more than that.
Yeah.
It should be something.
Yeah.
I always say either go back with something useful or an idea, or something relevant to their business.
Yeah, nice. Good deal flow in numbers. What would you say good deal flow in quantities? Sorry, let me reframe that completely. So consistent good deal flow for anyone looking to create it.
Yes.
What sort of numbers should they be looking at, do you reckon? Because there's so many ratios and numbers pointed around, but I think you're the chap to confirm the reality of that question.
Anything more than 0 or 1
is
considered flow. So to elaborate a little bit, it really depends what the target is, the size of the business is. If it's, for example, a 5, 10, 20 million pound target, it's going to be fewer conversations. But you still need 3, 5 plus of those active at any one time.
Yeah.
If it's smaller deals, could be 500,000 or 1 million or whatever, you still need a volume of them.
Yeah.
The whole point is, it depends on your time availability. And like James Lamb, for example, he was mentioning on his podcast that after it gets to about 10 different conversations with different business owners, it kind of hits kind of the limit on what he can, in terms of keeping each one going, because obviously each one has a what I call a different pace, different timing. On when when the business owner is ready to move forward and whatever agenda they have in their mind. But the point is to have multiple of them going, and don't just rely on brokers.
Yeah, because I like James Lamb's story and touching back. I'm due to sit down with him in a few weeks, which would be good to dive into that more, because I think he's done over like 30 transactions himself, hasn't he? So he's very established and versed in doing multiple deals at any one time. Like there's me who's done like a handful at any one time, and obviously as a consultant broker, I've maxed out at 8 at any one point, overseeing myself, but that was a mix between like 3 were like buy side clients and then the rest were sell side mandates. So 10 will be very overwhelming. I don't think I could say 10. I could do 10. I struggled with 8.
Yes. So it comes
fair
down
play
to
him,
what you're comfortable with. If it's 2 or 3, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
again, it depends on the team you have around you, how experienced you are as well, obviously. So all factors to come into it.
Very much.
But no, James seems like a nice guy. I like his podcast anyway. I've been watching that. I did watch your one on there as well, which was good.
Good. Getting more versed in these podcasts. I want to do about 20 this year.
Yeah, I see that the other day, which is good. So, yeah, because I know, look, this is number 10 for me now.
Yeah.
And, people, if they've watched me from 1 to 10, you'll probably see 1 being really awkward, 2 being really awkward, up until about 8. And now I'm just doing it now. So it just takes time. Yeah. Just takes time to get in the rhythm and get on with it. So serious deal makers, right? What's the difference between them that you see and how do they consistently find like off-market opportunities?
All right. On that point, the serious ones, in terms of off-market, from my experience, they go direct.
Yeah.
I know some of these groups talk about sending out letters, emails, and all this. The best one I had, I was reminded by this guy called Martin. I did a couple of posts about it.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say now.
Yeah, exactly. He talked about doing 15 million in deals. So 2 businesses with 15 million in revenues. What was it? I don't know the exact numbers and so on, but that's what Martin relayed back to me. What was interesting, Charlie, was he mentioned that those had come from an existing seller, a business seller.
Right. Okay.
So that was interesting. So in answer to your question, it's more about going directly to business owner.
Yeah.
And just expanding on that a little bit, if the business owner isn't ready to sell, or if they're thinking a year, 2 years down the line, it's more around who else do you know?
Yeah.
You never know what they come out with. That's a further lead or referral or introduction.
Yeah.
You might say this other business down the road, it's doing like 3 million quid a year. I think he's
up for it. Yeah. Sort of thing. Yeah. What methods do you see that work the best? Sorry, just touching back on letters. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you want to do the whole letter thing, it will cost you anywhere from £2 to £3 per letter. So if they go on about response rates being in like the 1-2%, you could send out 1,000 letters and get like 10 responses. I've never been a fan of letters personally, but I've never given it a real bash properly.
Right.
I've mixed it with... I tried it once where I'd done 150 letters and I mixed it between letter and then an email drop and then I phoned them. Yeah. And that was a really good response. Good. But that was a mixture. Whereas people just fire off these letters and hope for the best. £2 to £3 per letter sent. So it can get very pricey very quickly. And if you're trying to do it for next to nothing, it's not the first option to go for.
Well, one of the guys, my client actually, that I'm working with currently, he spent $6,000 in sending out letters and has done 0 deals.
I thought you had another guy who spent out like
$20,000. That's not my client. That's a different
right.
guy.
Yeah.
I was chatting with him, and so coming back to my client, it spent $6,000 plus it spent over $10,000 on one of the mastermind groups, where they openly talk about sending out letters.
Yeah.
So my client has done that and has got 0 results. And obviously he's not the only one. There's the other guy who spent $20,000 and many others. The whole point is, obviously there's nuances around how, I call it a campaign, of how that works. And so the point is, what I'm working with my guy is how to target better, again, partly using LinkedIn, and to approach a little bit more smarter to get like a connection and rapport.
Yeah.
And also personalization to get into more deal flow and more opportunities rather than just sending out cold letters.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few cold letters and I've always thought, oh, this is nice because it's always in a fancy envelope or something like a bit different, right? And I thought to myself, because I know all the tricks and stuff, so it's just nice to receive a letter, think you're special sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, that wouldn't do it. That wouldn't think, oh, yeah, I'm going to pick up and ring that person. Yeah, thinking about it like that. But I get some people swear by it. I know a lot of people who've got a lot of deals from it, but Yeah. If I'd any letter I've had through the door has never enticed me to phone them.
Do you want to hear the slight twist, which
Yeah.
can make it work better?
Yeah.
This is one of my guys, David Hargraves, actually, no secrets. He he talked about sending a book through the post.
Yeah, David's got a few of his own books, hasn't he? I
Yes.
believe. I know of David. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, he likes to spend a lot of time on the phone chatting. So
Yeah.
if you do get him on the phone, he could be on a little
Yeah,
while.
fair enough. Yeah, I've never. I think I've had a few LinkedIn chats with him, and then I see him in person at Gareth Hawkins' event last summer in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So, what methods do you see work the best?
So a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
The key point is what down to each individual and what they're comfortable with. So coming back to the client I just mentioned, what's interesting is he'd spent $6,000 on mailings, no result. The point I wanted to make was that he'd actually sold a tech business like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So he picked up 7 figures through that.
Oh, right. Okay. So he could afford the 6K, but
Yeah, the money wasn't so much a problem. It wasn't an issue. The main point I'm making is what my guy really wanted to do was leverage through LinkedIn. But he went through the community and mastermind where they talked about letters. He took that route, never felt comfortable with it, didn't get any results through it. The point is he's much more comfortable with LinkedIn, that aspect of it, because it paid his money 7 figures in tech.
Mhm.
So that's
it resonated with him more. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're back onto what he's comfortable with.
I think LinkedIn can be better because it's free.
Yes.
It's better ROI instantly just off of that. Yes, you have to put some time into it. What you post, what you present, what conversations you start via it. So it's a very handy tool.
Yes.
Itself, LinkedIn.
One of the other well-known business brokers, I may or may not mention his name, generates 90% of his business, he tells me, through LinkedIn.
I'll probably know him then.
Yeah, he's got the same first name as you.
Oh, Vamos. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's very good on LinkedIn, Charlie, and he's built his business via it.
Yes.
Essentially. Yeah. I speak to him weekly. That's how regularly we talk, Charlie and I. So he gets over 100 messages a day.
Amazing.
Now. Yeah, just like outreach.
It's certainly a lot less than that. But the point is he's converting well.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest point is LinkedIn works.
LinkedIn does work. Yeah. It takes time to build up, and it takes time. But like Charlie says, since I think the beginning of January 1st of last year, he made the effort to say, I'm going to post once every day.
Yes.
And he's done that consistently since that. And that's compounded his audience into what it is. But then Charlie also, he's on many podcasts. He's on a few stages. He's an official broker in the 5D group. So he's around everywhere where you see it. And Vamos has grown exponentially in that time frame.
Yes.
Yeah, hence why he actually put a post out earlier saying 3 years ago when he started brokerage, he was in the spare bedroom on his laptop.
Yes.
And I know now today of his setup, he's got him, an admin girl, 2 young associates.
Yeah.
Peter's his head of transactions. Now he's got Matt, his sales and marketing guy. You know what I mean? And he's done over, I think it's over £1 million value of transactions. But that's just
in fees or in...
No, that's in the business. I think it's the business turnovers combined.
Good.
Exceeds 100 million.
Good. Yeah. They pick up a percentage of that.
Yes.
As brokerage fees.
Yeah, that's right. And he's not the typical equivalent to the large corporate broker out there where they just focus on a big listing fee between 20 and 40 grand and leave you on the shelf to rot.
Yeah.
Because their business model is 85% of listing fees. You know, he prides himself on within 90 days of heads of terms will sell your business.
Yeah.
So he aims to sell a business within 6 to 9 months.
Not 69 months.
In reality, but obviously his slogan is sold within 80 something days.
Yes.
But it's a bit, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking him or I might not know this right. I think that's from heads to completion, 86. not from listing to completion, because I don't think that's quite possible.
I think a key point is that from my understanding and talking with many business owners, it doesn't really matter as long as the job gets done.
Oh yeah, no, look, the
It's
reason
less about the speed, I think.
no, his whole thing, like the reason it's called Vamos, he said it's Spanish for let's go. So he emphasizes he wants to get the transaction complete
Yes.
on, because he's trying to disrupt the industry, the brokering industry, by making it by making the transaction happen and prioritizing that.
Yes.
Rather than what the big boys do, they just want your listing fee and they don't care if it sells.
Yes.
Because 15% of their turnover is transaction fees.
As little as that.
Little as that.
All right.
Yeah. So like for example, KBS, right, the biggest broker, hundreds of millions a year, right, thousands of listings. They don't care if they sell your business. They literally just want your listing fee.
All right. And aggressive marketing and
yeah, that's all they do. So that's why when you see like account managers in that business, they're all like, they don't have any accountancy background. They're just ex-car salesmen or whatever it may be. And you ask them how many mandates they have, they'll be like 20, 30. So they can't manage all the inquiries to start with, because they're going to get like 100 inquiries per mandate. So that's like 3,000 people they got to sift for every month.
Yeah.
And it's reasons like that on-market brokers get a bad name, because they never get back to inquiries and they're very hard to deal with. But that's just big, large corporations where nothing really works and everyone just gets lost between department to department, which is why I say if you want a broker, then I would say get a specialist broker or get a independent or boutique broker, someone who actually cares about the industry.
Yes.
Like the likes of Vamos, like Logros. Is it Logros who Lee Dinsdale? He's a really new upcoming brokerage.
Yeah.
You know, like there's Blacks, Transworld are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're probably the best big broker I would say out there that have a different business model. Like I don't think Transworld charge an upfront fee. I don't know what they charge on the back end, but they seem pretty good. But the big three, nah, they give all the rest of us a bad name.
Yeah, there's. I'm aware there's like 1,000+ different types, and I know Clinton Lee, for example, is good at sifting through, which is a probable good match.
Clinton Lee is Marmite for a start.
I sensed, yes.
Yeah, so you love or hate Clinton. So
I kind of like him.
Yeah, he's very opinionated, and he's got a big. I think he's got a big community, hasn't he?
Yes.
Is it a big Reddit community? I believe.
I'm familiar with what he does on Reddit. It's only on LinkedIn.
Oh right, yeah. So he's got a big community with a big following anyway. So yeah, he's well known in the space, Clinton. I don't know him personally or anything like that. I just know him from his content and other people who, aren't fans, but each their own. But yeah. So next round is power. It brings us on to power dialogues, which is what you're all about. So if you could explain to everyone what is a power dialogue, and your take on it.
Yeah, this is a good example of a power dialogue.
Okay, yeah.
It's having a deeper, useful, ideally, to some meaningful discussion, conversation, and so on. In essence, a power dialogue is a conversation or a dialogue that leads to a decision, yes or a no decision.
Yeah.
Ideally, with bigger transactions, could be 6-figure. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with 5-figure selling, consulting, coaching, business opportunities, and those kind of things. Still involves a quality dialogue. It can't be replaced by AI, or it's not order taking. So, in answer to your question, a power dialogue is usually a multiple dialogue process, 2, 3, 4 calls, sometimes meetings, plus WhatsApp, DMs, and so on, to move a bigger transaction forward. And obviously, with acquisition entrepreneurs doing bigger deals into 7 figures,
it's all around the dialogue, isn't it?
Correct. If the dialogue is poor or average, from my experience, there's not going to be any deal done.
So, what would you say, or why would you say most sales calls for like deals like fail?
Okay, I can think of at least a dozen.
Yeah, go on. Fire.
They but often, so starting off with a poor or average dialogue or lack of understanding of what the business owner really wants.
Yeah.
Around valuation, around pace, timing, expectations,
Yeah.
around what happens to staff and the structure of the business, and like a dozen plus aspects of
Yeah.
what the expectations and what the understanding of the business. So lack of understanding in short.
Yeah, because that's what I earlier on in my brokerage experience, that's what I struggled with most.
Yeah.
Because at that point, a few years back, I was still sort of overcomplicating things in my head. So when I was sitting down to sort of say, right, I'm going to be touching on these points with onboarding the potential client, sell their business.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to represent what everything is, from timeline to expectations, etc. But I was just overcomplicating it still, trying to seem like I was too professional.
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, my approach now is I simplify as much as possible at first, because explaining the M&A transaction to a business owner who's never done it, majority of them only ever do it once.
Yes.
You need to keep it simple. And then when they sort of understand it and grasp it, then you can get into a bit more nitty gritty on certain sections at certain times, at different times with different dialogues.
Yes.
That's how I do it now, because if you give them too much information, you can only take in so much information at one point, can't you?
Yes.
Especially on something new. So that's why I sort of break it down simply as possible. And one thing I do also is in business, if you can't explain your business in 1-2 sentences,
Yeah.
you don't understand it, because you should be able to explain it in simple terms, and then you should be able to go into detail with it to really to show you understand it as well.
Yes.
You should be able to do both things, but try and keep it as simple as possible.
In addition to that, the related point, Charlie, especially with shorter attention spans, what you're saying is even more valid. It's like, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever, it's like 30, 60-second attention spans.
Yeah.
So the point is, get your points across. Yeah. Even some of us older guys, get the key points across, and then have another dialogue rather than having not.
You say that, so I've tried releasing some shorts and content headshot stuff over time, right? In the last year, not a lot of stuff, but I've noticed the attention span doesn't exceed 30 seconds.
Yes.
So I've released like 2.5-minute videos thinking, let's summarize that pretty well.
Yeah.
The average view time is like 30 seconds. I'm like, what's the point in this? I might as well just do 30-second snippets.
Yes.
And that's what I plan to do going forward. So just do daily 30-second shorts, I think. That's where it's leading to.
Me too.
Yeah. So what are the 2 to 3 key questions that really change a deal conversation if you're getting if your back's up against the wall with a potential client?
With a client or a deal or?
Yeah, deal, whatever.
Yeah. A key part is, so just on that point, one of the biggest challenges I find with most individuals is they don't ask enough questions.
Yeah.
Clarifying questions. I've got 100+ questions.
Yeah, they don't vet them, do they? I've noticed.
Yeah. Vet, qualify, filter, whatever, and prioritize and so on. And I'm naturally curious as well. So I can talk a lot, and I've got quite a bit of experience, which I've built up over the years.
Yeah, of course.
But I can ask a lot of questions. So in answer to your point, it's more around what the individual wants. So if it is a business transaction, a business owner, for example, I might just like, so if it's on the phone or video, I might say, well, so if it's a Charlie, you're the business owner here, you've got a 2 million, 3 million pound business here. What's most important to you about selling and exiting whenever you're comfortable? What's important to you?
Yeah, and that's when people will either go money, people, staying on, and things like that. And that's like, I ask that same question as well when talking to potential clients to sell, because I say, because I'm kind of like a matchmaker, right, with a certain type of buyer. So if you want your business to stay the same, for the legacy to continue, for the people to stay within that business and be slightly changed, then you need probably a first-time buyer, a trade buyer, or a serial acquirer, right? If you want to maximize your money and you don't care what happens to that business once you leave, you probably want private equity who are going to give you most down day one and just strip out the back 20-30% of it
Yes.
and streamline it into their platform, right? Or something like that. But you need to vet their desired outcome
Yes.
to suit what lane you're going to put them in or what people you put them in front of,
Yes.
you know? So, but it's the same. It's like you said, it's the same with vetting someone. It's like my sales guys, when I say, when you're obviously, because I give them lead generation lists and then they make the calls, it's like your first question needs to be, are you open to discussing exiting your business? Are you interested in that?
Yeah.
Yes or no? If it's a no, it's like, okay, no problem. Would you be interested in growing or scaling your business? No, thank you. Okay, have a lovely day. Because what's the point in wasting everyone's time?
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, like in services we offer people, if they're not interested in it now, then they know we've called. Then you can say, okay, this is what we do. If you ever change your mind, then please keep us in mind and come back to us. And then we note that down on the system when we move on with our days. So there's no point. Yeah, there's no point wasting our guys' time, the people's time who are busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, vetting, it's all about knowing what to ask at the right point.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, and just more questions around that, really.
Yeah. So when you've jumped on live calls with clients, right, when you sort of shadowed them and just sort of reviewed them, what is it that you've seen go wrong the most in their approach and whatnot
With
deal makers?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Again, quite a few things.
Yeah.
Part of what I do, which is a little bit different, I join three-way calls.
Yeah.
So like conference calls. So if a business, if an acquisition entrepreneur or business buyer is talking with a potential seller of a business, that they've already had one conversation, they bring me in on a second or other conversation.
Yeah.
So I call that a three-way call. In answer to your point, in answer to your question, what I often find is that not enough discovery work is being done, understanding of what the seller wants. Again, around valuation, price expectation, timing, pace, and all those kind of aspects. A lot more questions should have been asked on first call.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it comes back again to just vetting. It just comes down to being prepared.
Yes.
At the end of the day, doesn't it? Like, if you prepare right, you end right, in my approach. And that comes with in all departments of a business, whether it be front end sales marketing, or whether that be like ops or end production or end product that you make. Like, it's just preparing and being ready for all angles of approach or problems, just to stress test it before fine-tuning it and going and repeating that task over and over again for your business.
Yeah, what I find useful as well, this comes back to my experience when I was assisting coaches, consultants, and so on for five-figure sales.
Yeah.
Again, I used to use a similar mechanism, three-way calls to get more sales and deals done. The point is that I used to ask for notes beforehand. So send me like 5, 10, 20 points about them. Didn't work too well because the individual kind of put their own slant on it.
Cagey, I do the same. Like, if you want to, for example, if you go onto my website and you want to book a call with me, right, you got to answer some questions as well, just so I can gauge what it is, what one you want. Two, obviously, regarding what you want, obviously some other questions with that.
Yes.
Literally just simple questions. No like real in depth, but just gives me an insight just to prep before. And obviously I do my preparation before every meeting, but it's just good to see what you actually want beforehand, summarized.
Which is good. Now you can go a stage further, which is what I've started to do, is request like a Fathom or AI transcript of their first conversation.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So just send me I don't need to listen in on the call. Just send me the transcript.
Yeah.
I can pretty well sense or know where the conversation is going on call 2, call 3.
Yeah.
And which kind of question, further, as you say, vetting conversation.
Because that goes back on to probably the last question in the dialogue part. Yeah. So if a sort of conversation. So no, how do you take control of a conversation without being too pushy or aggressive?
with a simple, simple point. It's just turn it into a question.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, Charlie, why are we doing this today on a Friday? And so there's obviously a sample, but you can turn it into 101 questions
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
rather than trying to either push.
But that's why I suck at sales, because I'm very like simple and to the point, and
that's the construction industry, possibly.
Yeah, no, I think it's just me. I think I just like to get to. I'd like to ask the question, get to the point, and then get on.
Yes,
but yeah, there's been obviously. I know there's a time and a place for that. Don't get me wrong, but I've used it in a few places I shouldn't have, and I've learned from that.
But it often backfires with women.
Backfires with everyone, but yeah, especially your wife and all that. So yeah, it's going. Oh yeah, structuring deals. So, what would you say is the biggest myth about buying a business?
I'll give you £1 for that. Yeah, this. I think there's a lot of like dreams and fantasies of paying little or nothing for businesses. I think that's one of the biggest ones. I think the key thing is to be flexible around structure of deals.
Yeah,
rather than trying to get it for cheap.
Yeah, because everyone just wants no money down, whatever that may be. I don't agree with that. They don't want to. They want to pay everything on completion out of the business. They want the business to be leveraged. They just want the business to pay for the business, give them millions when it doesn't even make itself millions. Yeah. They think it'll change their life overnight.
And it's like that phrase, which is exactly. It's that kind of mentality of something for nothing.
Yeah.
And if the end of it, so if a business buyer or acquisition entrepreneur is looking for something for nothing, mostly it backfires.
Always.
Yeah. They'll end up often with nothing or worse.
Yeah, because people who haven't done business acquisitions before, like acquiring a business isn't like an overnight sensation. Because the first 6 to 12 months, the business dips naturally anyway. Changing ownership, staff get nervy, clients get nervy, customers get nervy, obviously contracts and everything changes. So it dips before it comes back up. And I model out acquisitions. If they've paid for themselves within 3 years, that's a good acquisition. If it does it within 5, that's all right.
Yeah.
And that's on its own sort of deferred repayment structure that the business can pay from previous accounted recorded earnings.
Yeah.
And that's really, I would say you need to go through that before really taking any money out of the business for yourself, because anyone looking to get into acquisitions to think the business is going to pay for itself, you're going to get a massive salary day one, it doesn't work like that. Don't get me wrong, there's ways people have done that, but generically, no, it doesn't happen. You still need to raise equity, put money in. You still need to, do some operational work for that business. You need to understand it and convince people you're the right person within that business as well.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, the people don't know it's being sold until it's completed, which I don't like that.
That's why quite a few times with an acquisition entrepreneur, especially with the hundreds of inquiries I've had, I ask a very awkward question, which many of them struggle with. Do you want to know what the question is?
Yeah, ask it.
So I ask them really, so tell me what the value you're going to add once you acquire this business. Where's the value add from you once you acquire this?
Yeah, and it depends on the size of business. The majority of my acquires have been, I've had to pick them up by the scruff of their neck and take them to the next level, and that's because they're the lower end of the market, and I didn't have as much capital on the first 2-3 as I do now. Yeah, so you have to start at a certain level playing field. It's like anyone who comes from a property development background. Like you have to start with the flat conversions, then go to a buy to let, and then try your renovations, and then you go up to like your extensions, and then you go up to your new builds, and then you go on to your flat builds, and then you go up to your new build developments. It's all a stepping stone size business. And don't get me wrong, if you've got capital, you can skip levels.
Yes.
But if you don't have capital, you have to start somewhere. And all my businesses, my first one was lucky, as you know, and my others after that have been just, again, in the right place at the right time. And I've got good. I've negotiated good creative structures, and I've taken them from one point to another, essentially, and I've grouped a couple together, which have basically just been they do the same service just in different regions.
Yeah.
And I just took out the back office, combined it to cut costs, and then all of a sudden, your bottom line, top line's a bit different, and then it stabilizes over 2 years, and then it's got a foundation, and then you think, right, what's next? And then, but overnight, I didn't get a salary of X amount. I don't take dividends out of my businesses, right? Because I just keep it all in, because I like to make sure the cash flow's in it, make sure there's a buffer in it, because if there comes hard times, all my businesses are construction. So I know hard times are always around the corner. So I always want to put a 2-year working cap in it, as strange as that sounds.
Wow.
Right? So I aim for that, because then I know I can sleep comfortably at night. I know I don't have to make any changes if, I don't know, a pandemic comes or anything else comes along. So I want a business to be self-sustainable before I start drawing dividends down. I'm just lucky enough I don't have to draw money out of my businesses, because I've got other investments portfolios that look after me.
Yeah.
But for anyone else looking to get into acquisitions, you got to be, if you're looking to leverage a business, take a salary, it's got to be very creative deal structure you get.
Yeah, we'll be open to a consulting for equity type of option.
Smaller. See, consulting for equity, I never used to be a fan of. I used to be have so much pride in me.
Yeah.
I used to think it was taking advantage of people. Yeah, but then the more I've got into the industry, and the more I know it happens now, because not a lot of people can do 100% acquisitions. Like you'd be surprised. It's probably more like 50 to 75% acquisition day one than 100% now. So I know it's more normal, and my mindset has shifted. Like I've done it once now, so I am open to it personally. But on what come 1-2 acquisitions, I was like, no, I don't agree with that. People taking advantage, it's manipulative. But obviously that was just my naiveness and my inexperience in the industry.
Yes,
but it evolves over time.
Yeah, the whole point is there's literally dozens, as you already know, there's dozens of options around deal making.
Yes.
In terms of structures and opportunities and so on. And as you may have heard on the podcast I did with James, I'm in favor, in my case, of
you have
smaller stakes.
You have a handful,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm quite very happy and comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Rather than having 100% of the whole thing. Often, this actually comes from one of Dan Peña's phrases, which around ownership, which is less control, is actually more control.
Yeah, because you diversify your portfolio, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, in simple terms, and you don't have to do a lot.
That's right, especially the operations management.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you're still bringing experience, you're still consulting that business, you're still talking. It's not like you just buy into it and you just sod off. You still have a part of the business. Like you do still you still have your board meetings or whatnot. So you're still in control. It's still your baby as well. It's not just all theirs. But it's like my businesses, I have normally 75% and I'll give 25% to the day-to-day operator.
Yes.
Right? Because I don't mind sharing the pie, especially someone who's overseeing and reporting into me. And that's on top of profit shares and all of the other stuff that comes, and a good salary and perks that come with it. Because I'd rather pay over the odds and be fair to someone who looks after me.
Yeah.
That's my approach to business. Like,
it's sustainable.
That's it. You can have more of them. I'd rather have, like yourself, I'd rather have stakes in 10 businesses than have 2 headaches, 200% headaches.
Correct. Yeah.
I'd rather that any day of the week.
Yeah. It's, I'm sure you've heard a variation of the phrase that 1 is a dangerous number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's just £10 million.
It's just clever investment at the end of the day. It's just risk mitigation and diversifying your risk.
exactly.
across many different industries if you invest in different industries.
Yeah. The whole point is be flexible about it. So that's why I say the first stage, when I'm giving pointers or ideas, is just talk with a few more business owners, and it's from that deal flow and dialogues develop.
Yeah, so I'll touch on like events, networks, and ecosystems. So obviously you've seen a lot of like power rooms and seminars and networks, So what would you say that makes a great deal room?
Okay. It's I'm actually selective, so I'm not seeing that many. I'm familiar with a bunch of them, and I mostly stay away from many, or just have occasional guest visits.
Yeah,
That kind of thing, just to get.
because I've already asked you to review mine next week. So
But I'm coming on at the end of the month.
yeah.
So it's less about review. It's you kind of get a sense of what the energy is.
Well, I always ask for feedback anyway for all mine, because I think if you're not asking for feedback or open to constructive criticism on anything you do, then you're never going to evolve and get better. So that's why I ask.
Exactly. So in answer to your point, what I look at is the level of actual activity, depending on what the whole point about that community or group is. So who are the individuals? What percentage of them are actually active doing stuff rather than talking and for vanity or whatever?
Yeah, because I've noticed that. So people who come to my events, majority are professionals in the space, right? Obviously, day-to-day in the space, handful of aspiring people always come through, probably 5 or so. And then I get a lot of people who have exited that are sort of transitioning into consultants, don't know what to do, and they do that. But real aggressive buy-and builders don't really come to my events yet.
Yeah.
Because it's not an event where they're going to come and find a deal. You know what I mean? And business owners, there's always 3 to 5 business owners that are interested in selling or buying something else for their own business. So, but it's evolved over time. Like for the first 4, it was probably just professionals in the space, but it's definitely evolved. And since I've taken it to London since October last year, it's definitely evolved. So the last 3 events have definitely got a different candidate person, and it's growing. Like it used to be 2/3 of the same people come in.
Yeah.
But for example, this time round, it's like 75% new person to 25% returning.
Good.
Which I thought I was really impressed with.
Good. Yeah. A good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very good. It's like I said, it's evolving all the time, which is good. And I get to be very selfish and extend into that network and have one-on-ones in this capacity as well. So
very good.
Yeah.
It's it has a purpose.
Yeah, well, like I said, I only do this, so I can learn from people such as yourself and other people who have come on. And if anyone else picks up a thing or two or, wants to learn, then hopefully they can do that from listening or viewing. And of course, anyone obviously viewing and listening to this now, all of Des's information will all be in the description below. I'll attach all of that. So and future events will all be on the website, which will be good fun.
Very good.
And I have, any last words from Des?
Oh, all good. I think we've been through most of the points.
Yeah, I would love to get on more, but as you know, I'm restricted to time myself, unfortunately, because it's Friday at 3, and I'm on child collection promise duties.
Excellent.
So I could talk all day long with you. It's very, very. We'll have to do a part two. Yeah,
happy to continue. So anyone who's really serious about deal flow or dialogues, just connect with me on LinkedIn.
That's right. Des does. He does help aspiring guys as well and professionals. Yeah, specialised dialing and get better deals underway. So it's good.
Happy to talk.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on, Des.
Good to talk. Cheers, Charlie.
Cheers, bud. Thank you.
Cheers.